Ready to go.
Chet, they made their run. You were able to, hold that off until the second half. But when they made it, what stood out to you about the way you responded to it?
Just not being surprised by it. Understanding that a good team with good players is going to make runs, and that's what they did in the second half. They were making shots, pushing the pace, and we had to adjust and respond to that. And in the end, we were able to do that.
How have you felt like your footwork, timing, everything has improved, kind of spacing off the ball, getting your feet behind the three-point line? It just seems like everything's so fluid for you to be able to get those pick and pops and then also attack off of them.
Yeah, just reading the game and what the game's given me and then making decisions based on that faster. The faster I can make the decision, the more time I have to execute it. So just trying to slow things down and be slow but play fast at the same time. So,
Chet, I know you came in with an idea of what the playoffs look like, but do you feel more comfortable this time around?
I feel like naturally with experience, if you take from experiences and learn from them, you find improvement through that. But I feel like this year's it's a whole new team that we're playing against. There's a whole new set of challenges, and we just have to continue to figure that out as the series goes on. We have a Game 3 in Memphis, and we have to worry more about preparing for that than what we've done in the first two.
And Hartenstein he got asked the other day about how the lineup with you is going, and he said that sort of a turning point was that you guys figured out who should be running out and who should be staying at the rim. Do you remember when that kind of flipped, and what has that sort of done for the lineup since then?
Yeah, it wasn't a single moment. There were a bunch of mistakes that we had to communicate through and then act on, and we're still not perfect. We're not connecting on 100% of plays, which you're crazy if you think you ever will. But we're both bought into playing together, figuring it out, being as good as we can be in those situations. And I think the biggest thing for me is just figuring out kind of how to play a different style when I'm out there with him. I'm playing more basically a wing spot compared to creating all the action and kind of setting everybody up. So I'm kind of out there just figuring out where to be aggressive, how to find my spots. And, I'm going to continue to get better at it over time. And, I think it's a lot of fun.
Chet, you were just talking about be slow but play fast. Obviously, pace against Memphis is such a big deal. It would seem to play out in fast break points, but have you sensed it playing out in other areas?
Yeah, I'd say even in the half court, we're moving the ball really fast. And, the ball can always get ahead of the defense in the air faster than it can with somebody dribbling, and we've done a really good job of that in the first two games of trusting each other, making the extra pass, making the next read, and trusting that the next guy is going to make the right play. And again, we haven't converted on 100% of them. We've had stretches where we miss some shots or make a couple wrong reads, but everybody's bought in, and everybody when somebody does make mistakes, everybody knows that it's with the right intentions, and we're able to live with that at the end of the day. And over time, we trust that it's going to work out in our favor more times than it doesn't.
At the same time, though, the fast break points have been very lopsided for you guys. You win by 19 and outscore them by 18 in fast break points. How much of a conversation was that heading into this series, and how have you seen it play out?
I'd say it's more of just trying to play to our identity. We try to find advantages in whatever situation we find ourselves in out there. And, again, it just comes down to trusting each other, trusting that if there's somebody up ahead of the play, that getting the ball up to them is going to lead to something good, and they're going to make the next right read, whether it's score, pass, whatever it might be. And, having that trust in each other allows you to play faster.
Chet, after the blowout in Game 1, what sort of mentality did you have to have there in that first quarter, expecting they were going to come out aggressive to win the first quarter like you guys did tonight?
Yeah, coach does a lot of like philosophical teaching to us throughout the season. So whether we won or lost that game by however many points you pick, it was going to be the same mindset coming in. Game one doesn't matter. Once the ball tips up for game two, we got to execute and do what we need to do to put ourselves in a position to win game two. And now we're in that same situation for game three.
And then what have you seen from the guys in front of you, Lou, Kaysen, Caruso, and just the job they've done on Ja?
I don't even want to limit their impact to just guarding one player's, everything they do on every possession down, disrupting things, making things tough on everybody. We were talking about it on the bench. We would hate to play against our own defense. So, and a lot of that credit goes to them, disrupting the point of attack and, picking up high and just making things tough.
Andrew Schlecht with The Athletic. Chet, you had 5 blocks and 1 foul. What goes into defending that way, like aggressively without fouling?
I'd say the biggest thing is trying to be in the right spot at the right time. When you're caught out of position, that's when you kind of get over leveraged, and then you end up in those situations where you have to foul. And then I'd also say part of it is, we're just at a point in the season where the game is a lot more physical, and they're not really calling ticky-tack stuff either way. Like a lot of times on the glass, they're getting away with stuff, boxing us out, and vice versa. So like, and I'm not saying there are fouls they should be calling. Like I love the way they're calling the game. I'd love to play physical, and I'd say the biggest thing is timing the ball up so that when you do come down, it's kind of already out of their hands and there's no chance for a foul.
And you had 8 3-point attempts tonight. Is that a number that you'd like to get to, or would you like to have more 3-point attempts?
I mean, if the game gives me 8, I'd love to shoot 8. If it gives me 4 because they're not trying to let me shoot threes, then it gives me 4. You know what I mean? Whatever the game gives me, I'm trying to read that and take advantage of those situations.
Chet, game 1 and game 2, you've had double-digit rebound games. I don't think you had maybe more 1 than 2 last year in the playoffs. I asked Mark in pregame about sort of what's gone into it. He credited Hartenstein a lot of it just helping with box outs and said that's really unlocked you as a rebounder. Would you agree with that sentiment?
Yeah, let's give all the credit to Hart.
Yeah, Chet.
Shout out Hart.
My bad. Memphis' starters went 3 of 21 in the first quarter. What was the key to getting off to such a great start defensively, and how much do you sense that your team's length is making things tough for them?
Yeah, it's extremely important. We understood that they were going to come out aggressive, playing free, and, we had to match that and counter that. And, we didn't come out lacking any intensity or anything like that. We put in good prep for the game. We listened to what the coaches were telling us, and we went out there and tried to execute that to the best of our abilities. And, credit to them, they put together good stretches tonight, and we just have to continue to try and, make things as tough as possible all night long, not just out the gate.
Anybody else? Thank you, Chet.
Yeah, have a good one.
What's this? I can drink these? I'm thirsty. Go.
Shai, you guys didn't let them deliver that first punch that you knew they were probably going to try to throw, and then you responded when they did throw one in the second half. What did you like best about kind of just the overall approach and the ability to shut the door the way you did?
Yeah, we never underestimate our opponent, no matter what. Obviously, they're a very good team. They wouldn't be here if they weren't. And we just wanted to make an emphasis to come out and win that first quarter, set the tone for the night, and then just carry it out throughout the game.
All season long, AC and Lou and Kaysen and all these guys, yourself included, kind of playing with your hair on fire. But in a series like this, are we seeing the value of the depth that you guys have, that it just seems like, everybody that's checking in is able to go 100 miles an hour for however long they're on the floor?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's nothing new. We've seen it all year. That's why we have the record we do. That's why we're the team we are. Guys have been hurt. Guys have been down. Guys come back into the lineup, and no matter what, it seems like we don't miss a beat, and that speaks to our depth in itself.
Shai, what have you seen from Chet and Dub as far as their comfortability and how they've sort of handled the postseason this time around?
Good players, making the right plays out there, affecting the game at a high level. They've been doing that all season, and as they get reps under their belt, they just become better and better basketball players, more comfortable in the position that they're in, and no surprise to me.
And with Hartenstein, like you've talked all year about your connection with him and just the benefits of him, but in this setting, in a postseason setting, like what does he do to sort of change your offense compared to last year?
Physical screener, physical roller. Obviously, he can play in the pocket, his floater, his passing, his rebounding more than anything, offensively and defensively, his basketball IQ. It seems like he affects the game every time he gets out there. And he had a lot of success with his last team, and they had a lot of success with him, and it's no surprise that he carried the success over with us.
Shai, what was the key, the way you guys started that fourth and shut them out for a while? What was the most important thing in that?
Yeah, our defense was smothering. We got a lot of stops, turnovers. When we get live ball turnovers and are able to run, we're pretty good.
Shai, first of all, which flavor was better? You tasted both of them.
Lemon, lime, orange.
You like that one better? Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to take both of them home, though.
You guys just hit the boards hard, and we go back to last year at this time, and you're wondering where the rebounds were going to come from. Now you got two guys that are just killing it. You and Lou got on the boards also, just team rebounding. Just talk about doing other stuff besides scoring, because you're known for your scoring. Other stuff that you're doing, filling up the stat sheet, help win.
Yeah, it's about winning games, especially this time of year, and that's all that matters. And whatever it takes to do so is our mentality out there all the way across the board. And I guess that's what you guys are seeing on a nightly basis. We just have to keep it rolling.
Andrew Schlecht with The Athletic. Shai, you've had a couple games just below your standards with regards to efficiency. Just your thoughts on, is it something with comfort, or is it something with the Memphis defense? What are you seeing out there?
Yeah, I feel like I'm getting looks that I usually make. I'm just missing them. It's part of basketball. It's ups and downs, makes and misses. Now, because my team is really good, we've won 2 games by a decent margin. But yeah, they've had my back these last 2 nights, and hopefully I pick it up here soon.
Yeah, and just your thoughts on Isaiah Joe as a defensive playmaker. You guys have a ton of defensive playmakers on your team, but he's one that probably goes a little bit unnoticed.
Yeah, really good defender. Obviously, like you said, because of his frame and his size, you think otherwise, but he moves his feet. He's always in the right position, takes charges. And we're a really good defensive team because everyone we throw out there can play defense and isn't a liability, and it's hard to get cracks, and he's part of that just as much as anyone else. So, good defender for sure.
Yeah, Shai, since you've been here, you talk about making the right play, doing what's best for the team, and all just wanting to win. What is that thought process like for you in games like this, these high-intense games in the playoffs where your shot's not really falling, but the team has it going, and you kind of don't force the issue, but you can take any shot that you want, and nobody would really question it. So what is the thought process like with you trying to get yourself going, but also continuing to keep your teammates going?
Yeah, I don't ever worry about my game or how it's going. I don't ever worry about the things that it would seem like I worry about. I always just worry about time and score and quality of possession. And from there, I let the game flow, let the game come to me, let the game come to my teammates. And usually we've had success because we do so. We stay in the moment. Obviously, the time and score presents different tactical efforts throughout the night. And that's what I focus on. I try to be present in the moment and not worry about the past or the future.
Shai, in these first 2 games of the series, you guys have outscored them on the fast break 48-8. How is that possible?
It's a point of emphasis of ours for sure. They're one of the fastest teams in the league. And giving them that is giving them their identity. And when you want to win basketball games, especially this late in the season, you have to take away something from the opposite team that they really like to do. And we made that emphasis.
Are you more proud of the 48 you guys have scored or the 8 you've held them to?
8 we've held them to, for sure.
Shai, early in this game, whenever Kaysen had the ball swung to him, he was able to play off the catch and get a dunk, and that's something that he's been working on this year. What are the emotions that you feel when a player like Kaysen is able to translate that on a big stage?
Yeah, feels good. All the guys have worked super hard and are, at the end of the day, really good basketball players. And it's no surprise to me the success that we've had this year up to this point. They work hard, they do the right things, and they make winning basketball plays all game, almost every night. So yeah, no surprise, but it feels good.
Mentioned this with Mark. You guys only had forced 15 turnovers, but you got 25 points out of them. It seemed like they were just live ball turnovers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when they cut it to 8, you had that run, and you had a poke out that you got for a breakaway. It seemed like both games there were a lot of run outs that led to easy buckets for you guys.
Yeah, we love playing in transition. It's the most space on the floor. Good players like to play in space. And that's when the easiest baskets come. So as much as we can be in those positions, we try to without gambling and without giving up fouls and stuff, but also finding the balance and being aggressive with it. And I think we've done a good job of it so far.
Shai, with the identity of this team, I think a lot of people from the outside looking in would say that you guys like to have fun, you play as a team, you play hard, and when the lights are on, you guys really take it seriously. How have guys like Hartenstein and Caruso added to that identity and sort of molded it in different ways if possible?
Yeah, they fit in seamlessly. They're really good guys, competitors. At the end of the day, just do whatever it takes to win. And that fits right in with this group.
Shai, what do you think about the job you guys, obviously primarily Lou and Kaysen, have done defensively on Ja so far this series?
Yeah, those guys have been disruptive. They've done their job. And that's what's going to take to beat good teams this late in the season. Just everyone doing their job, everyone, I guess, ticking the boxes on what their role is on the team, and those guys have done so far. We got to keep it going.
Yeah, Shai, how impressed were you by your teammates' hustle tonight? It looked like when you guys got a great team, great talent, all that, and you seemed like to beat you, the other team needs to out-hustle you. But you were the one that looked like getting every loose ball, fighting for everything. Isaiah jumping through the air, trying to knock rebounds away. Caruso, the oldest guy on the court, throwing himself into the corner. Those kinds of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Always, like you said, really good team, really talented players, but at the end of the day, we just hang our hat on the controllables, and effort and hustle, it falls in that category. Things that you can go out there and do no matter what's going on, no matter if the ball's going in or out, no matter if it's turnovers or not. Like, you can always hustle, you can always make an extra play on both ends of the floor, and because we've done that, we've given ourselves an edge so far, and that's what that's what the really good teams, really good players do. They try to find ways to give themselves an edge.
Thank you, Shai.
Dub, late third quarter and the beginning of the fourth quarter, you all had just such a great response to what they tried to throw at you. Would you feel like execution-wise you did at a high level to turn the game?
Just what we've done all year, kind of stick to it, lean on our defense, play with pace, and just kind of trust each other to make plays and stick with it. They went on a little run where they were hitting shots, and we weren't defending the best we could, but that's just kind of like how the game fluctuates. So just us understanding that, I thought we did a good job of just coming together and making some big-time plays and opening the lead back up.
Alex,
yeah, that was good, right? Good work.
You got a standing ovation for diving on the floor a couple times tonight, and just you said this morning that before game one you kind of soaked in that pregame moment of the crowd, and I just wonder kind of what this relationship has been like between you and the crowd here over the first couple games of your playoff tenure here in OKC.
It's been great. it's obviously great when you win, and that gives the fans a lot to cheer for. But I think this time of year just kind of correlates with how I play the game. I can't always play like this through the course of the full 82-game season. I figured that out now. 8 years in, I can't dive on the floor every single night. But this time of year, like really competing and getting after it, that I think resonates with fans, and especially here in Oklahoma City. So to just kind of build that rapport with them and celebrate little things like that through the game, it's fun for me.
Yeah, Jalen, you two excellent games in a row from you on a night when Shai was not at his best shooting wise. Did you feel an extra sense of responsibility to be more assertive or aggressive, or did his shooting woes not affect you?
I don't know. In the game, he just does so many things that I don't really notice that he's not shooting well, or whatever the case may be. I don't know. I just have gotten in a mode where I'm trying to be aggressive regardless of what's going on. I think a lot during the year, there was a lot of just when he's out, what do our minutes look like? But I think just the most important thing for me is how to be aggressive while he's out there. So I think that's what I've been trying to do, just play off of him. And like I said, he does so many other things on the court. It's not really that I notice that he's maybe not shooting well or whatever the case may be, but it's just more how can I get to my spots and how can I contribute to winning.
And Alex, you were talking about all out effort and diving, all that stuff. It seemed like some of your teammates are taking up the cause as well. Isaiah flying through the air after rebounds, those kinds of things. Did you sense tonight that everybody was on in terms of just straight out hustle?
Yeah, I mean, if you're not playing like that this time of year, you're probably going home. There's only 16 teams left. Only one team can win the last game of the season, so that's just kind of the mindset you have to have this time of year if you want to win. This is the ultimate competition of putting your best and putting your best effort out there and trying to get wins. So that kind of is just the standard this time of year, I feel like.
Jalen, there's a moment where Casey Wallace had a block and then he had a dunk off of a drive, and you're celebrating a half court pretty emphatically. Can you just kind of walk me through that moment for you?
Just a young player. I'm saying I'm old, but just his first 2 years in the NBA, he's expected to do a lot on a very good team. So it's just I don't want to say it fills me with pride. I'm just excited for him that he's doing that on a big stage. It's just excitement, and it's kind of how I feel for everybody. Just understanding what everybody's going through, or just the nature of the game. It's hard not to be excited when your teammate does well, and for Queso and other guys who may not score 20 or whatever the case may be, those moments matter, and we're the reason that we win a lot of games. So I always just try and hype him up, and he's doing an excellent job.
Alex, you're no stranger to defending bigger players. You were tasked with defending Jaren Jackson a lot tonight. What goes into the preparation for defending guys that are quite a bit bigger than you?
Just trying to work early, trying to not let him get deep post position, because if he gets catches down there, he just big shouldered floats, and that's kind of his bread and butter. That's what he wants to get to. So just trying to work early, trying to make him work for everything. Even on a couple of the ones he made, I felt like I played really good defense, and he had to work a lot harder than he wanted to. And those in my mind are still wins for me, because those add up over the course of the game and course of the series. So just trying to make it tough for him. He's a good player, but obviously with the disadvantage size-wise and weight-wise, just trying to do my work early.
Alex, you talked about not being able to go all out 82 games. I think it was Draymond who said one time there's 16-game players and 82-game players. Do you feel like your play style sort of leans itself or allows you to shine brighter in playoff games like this?
Yeah, it might. I don't know. I feel like I play pretty good throughout the year as well. But yeah, there is a difference in in this type of basketball, this time of year, just with the attention to detail. The level of competition, I feel like I'm one of the great competitors in this league. I might not be the top half or quarter, whatever you want to put talent-wise, like just natural talent. But like as far as competing and putting it all out there and trying to win, like I'm in the elite group of that, and I'm ready to just go out there and do what it takes to win, and that's highlighted this time of year.
And then how much has it helped your line of communication with Mark on the floor that you guys have a long history together?
Yeah, it's good just knowing he knows how to kind of push buttons, and he doesn't necessarily need to get me up to play just because I'm already wired to go. But through the course of the season, it's been great just figuring out when he likes to call certain sets, how he likes to scheme and do certain matchups. And now that I think the second half, last third of the season, I really started to pick up on it, and we just have good symmetry in that. And so I'll throw ideas out to him, and sometimes he might just tell me, no, we're going to do this, and like that's what it is. But like it's a collective effort to try and put us in the best position to win, and he does a phenomenal job, and I'm just trying to make sure that I'm keeping up.
Alex, Barry kind of hit on this with Dub earlier, but we're used to seeing Shai have just like crazy efficient 30-plus point performances. Obviously hasn't happened yet in the series. What have you thought about Shai so far in this series, and just the way that he's contributed despite maybe not having his typical nights?
Yeah, I mean, Dub talked about it earlier, like he does so much through the complete course of the game than just scoring for our team, and I think that's showing up. He's I don't want to say taking a back seat because he's still being very aggressive, and he's a main engine for us, but I'm playing with him sometimes in that second unit and allowing me to push the ball up the court, create help, now get it back to him, and then he goes. Just his willingness to kind of let guys go and play and be aggressive, I think helps our team. And, he might miss a couple shots that look routine that he might normally make, but if we're winning games how we're winning them and he's having average days, I think that bodes well for us moving forward.
And then how would you evaluate the team defensive performance so far in this series?
I think it's been good. First game, we were pretty locked in. We kind of hit them with an avalanche of, punches that just kind of buried them. But tonight they answered the bell. They got their main guys, took a lot of shots and tried to compete. And I think we're doing a pretty good job. I think probably 75% of the time we're really locked in. And that's part of the challenge of playoffs is getting that to 100% and being the best we can.
Jalen, you guys didn't shoot as well as you did the other night, and they challenged you. I mean, how much do you think your defense kind of spurred your runs? How much can that help you, what you hope will be a long playoff run, you think?
That's just kind of our identity. I think when we can hang our hat on that on a nightly basis, we're in pretty good shape. You can't really control a lot offensively. You can go through the process of making the right plays, but there's going to be nights where you don't shoot it well, and that's not an excuse to not win the game or compete. So we try and hang our hat defensively and make sure we're not giving them easy ones, and make sure they have to earn a lot of stuff, and just being locked into our schemes. And that's kind of where we hang our hat, and then offense comes and goes.
Jalen, you look really comfortable getting to your spots offensively. Do you think that last season's playoffs helped you prepare for that?
Yes. And just, I think I've said it earlier, just going through the process of 82 games, trying to work on that and having a blueprint from the last playoffs, it's not going to be perfect this one either. And I think that has helped me kind of understand that and just go with the flow of how it is while still being aggressive. So that's kind of what I've taken away from that, and just going with the punches during the playoffs.
Alex, you mentioned
Joel, and then we'll go Jared for the last one.
You mentioned learning Hartenstein's sort of IQ, the things he likes to do, the sets he likes. How soon did you sort of realize he was a guy worth listening to on that sort of stuff?
So say that last part.
Yeah, how soon did you realize he was a guy worth listening to on those sort of things?
You said Hart, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He's just he's a cerebral player. You could tell just from his path, because he's kind of had similar path to me. He's bounced around and been through a lot of teams. And guys that stick like that, you have to be a smart player. You have to have skill. And, just figuring out early, probably a month into the season, that he thinks the game and he sees the game differently than most bigs. And I think that's one of the great things about this team is that we got a lot of different guys that are really good, and nobody's too prideful to not listen and to accept criticism or accept instruction from somebody else if they see something. And I think that's a real benefit for us and probably a reason we've had a lot of success.
And you guys had both more blocks and more steals than you had turnovers as a team. You had 8 blocks, 8 steals, and only 7 turnovers. Is that something consciously that you guys are working on, or is the flow of the game just coming that easy to you where you're not turning the ball over and defensively you guys are getting blocks and steals?
We're not trying to steal. You know what I mean? I don't know if it...
No, it's not a conscious effort to try and stack stats over turnovers. I think it just comes with the way that we play, and the players we have. We got really good players, and we try to play really hard defensively, and then try to get great shots on offense. And a lot of times that just when you have a great team, that stacks up.
Yeah, like less turnovers. Obviously, you get more shots. You know what I mean? And then rebounding, you try and keep teams in one shot. So that's kind of the philosophy there. I feel like that's like a basis, like general basketball one. But like as far as steals, like we're not going into games like let's get like 25 steals this game or anything. It's just more about like the process in which we get it, like being in the right spots, helping each other, Xing out correctly, like all this stuff that we try and do. I think that kind of generates steals, but at the end of the day, it's like let's take care of the ball and make them work on defense or on offense.
We got really good players on defense. Yeah, it helps.
I only had 1 steal tonight, so I don't know.
That's a wrap. Gave me 1.
Yeah, shit, I gave Queso.
Is this you? I just messed it up.
Mark, you all made sure that they didn't land the first punch tonight, but when they did land one, you had a response late in the game in the second half. What did you like best about the way the team kind of rallied after a tough shooting third quarter and we were able to kind of turn the game again?
Yeah, I thought we shot 5 free throws in the second half. We shot 3 for 19 from 3 in the second half, and so it's hard to score when that's the context, and our defense stayed with it. Like we still stacked stops despite not a great shooting half and not a lot of easy stuff. And so I thought just our perseverance in the third to just grind through that quarter. We ended up with a bunch of offensive rebounds, I think 12 in the second half. And so we just manufactured, second half offense to a win.
And we've talked so much about Alex Caruso and just his presence, but how about just tactically, the impact that you felt like he had tonight in terms of the X's and O's on the defensive end?
Yeah, I mean, he's just such a unique player. You can put him on Morant, you can put him on Jackson, you can also put him on somebody else, and he can be a really disruptive help defender. Where I thought he got into the game a couple times with the block on Morant, the jump ball on the Jackson post up. So he was unbelievable. That group to start the third when the game, was a little muddy in that group to start the fourth, the game was a little muddy in the third. And they came out as a 7-0 run. It was defense, and he was a catalyst in that group.
Mark, I just wonder, I know it's not just these two guys, but from Chet and Dub, what have you seen from them as far as the way they've orchestrated offense, created offense, while Shai still tries to find a rhythm?
Everybody's been great. The guys have done a great job of playing with aggression. We've got good stuff from Kaysen tonight. We've got great stuff from Hart in the first half on the pick and rolls. Dub obviously great. Chet great. Caruso offensively was really good. Wiggins gave us a lift during that run. And then I thought Shai stabilized the game in the third. When it was getting a little dicey, we went to him a couple times, and he made some settling shots for us. So all the way through, Joe, everybody that touched the court played with confidence, played the right way. And we're going to need that, in all these games. It's going to be different guys on different nights.
And with Hardenstein, I know last year's team to this year, it wouldn't have been one-on-one anyway because guys, evolve and grow. But with the places you put him on the floor and how effective he is from there, whether that's high post or dunker, how effective he is from there, how much does that change your offense from last year's team?
Yeah, I mean, less of a comparison to last year, because we've had an 82-game season, but he's an impactful player on both ends of the floor. He's just a great rim protector, great communicator, really, really good block-out player, rebounder. And then on the offensive end, we've talked about it, but the screening, he frees guys up, and he's a roll threat. And then if you go try to get the ball, he can make all the plays in and around the pocket, and he's an elite offensive rebounder on top of all that. So shows up in every game, but certainly showed up again tonight.
Mark Kaysen had the ball swung to him, play off the catch to get the dunk, and that's something that we've talked about him working on this season. What were those feelings like for you whenever that paid off in a big moment?
Yeah, he played with good confidence tonight. The first game, him and Alex only played a few minutes because of the margin. I didn't go back to him for very long in the second half. I think he only got one shot in the whole game, so stepped into a corner three tonight. It played with confidence. He's built that throughout the course of the year. And we're going to need everybody, at different times to make plays. And I thought that was on display again tonight.
Andrew Schlecht with The Athletic. Typically, you guys give up a lot of corner threes. Tonight, only 3 from Memphis. Is that by design to the defense, or is that just more of just Memphis feeling out their offense that way?
It's not what we want to give up, but there's other things we prioritize higher, so we end up giving a lot at times. I'm not sure. I'd have to look at it, but I thought we did a good job, for the most part tonight. We still won the second half despite a tough offensive half from the three-point line, not generating free throws. And I thought the defense had a lot to do with it, so we just got to keep stacking the possessions. But we got to understand, Bain, Jackson, and Morant took, I think, 60 out of their 92 shots tonight. So, they're going to keep going to those guys. We got to keep our body on them and keep them playing away from their strengths.
Mark, you guys had a 21-3 advantage in fast break points. What do you attribute that to?
A little bit of turnovers. I thought we ran well on misses tonight. I thought we did a really good job on the defensive glass. That's not a given against that team. And so, we got to keep them from getting extra possessions in that area of the game. But if we can turn them over, protect the ball, like we didn't have great shooting night, but we had a really clean game in the floor game with turnovers. And so, possessions matter, and we won the possession battle tonight.
Were you more impressed by the fact you were able to get 21 or hold them to 3?
Probably holding them to 3. They're a really, really good transition team. They try to dictate pace. I thought the Dallas game was a good signal in terms of how they're going to play when they go back home here. They lost a road game, disappointing road game at Golden State, hard-fought game. They go home, backs against the wall, and they were super fast in that Dallas game. And so I think that's a good cue for us to understand how they're going to approach this game. They're going to come out very, very fast and try to race us off the floor. And we got to be ready for that when we go to Memphis.
You only forced 15 turnovers. I say only because you've had guys in the 20s, but it led to 25 points that you guys got.
Yeah, good conversion, great job of pitching it ahead. The guys have done a great job of throwing the ball ahead. We've gotten some runouts as a result of that. We're scraping, those loose balls off the floor. So, yeah, I thought the defensive intensity tonight, I thought was impressive because, the other day, the wind was at our back offensively a little bit, and we really had to grind through that third quarter and fourth quarter because our offense wasn't humming, and despite getting good shots, and the defense really stepped up.
And you mentioned Shai. They got within 8 back to first half. He had a couple assists, corner assists to Caruso and Isaiah Joe to kind of stem a run. Then in that third, they cut it to 8. He gets 2 buckets. Hadn't been shooting well, but he got it when they needed him.
Yeah, he's a really good player. He's making good play. Yeah, even on a night that's below his standard, he makes a lot of winning plays, moves the scoreboard, and I've been impressed with how he's gotten his teammates involved all season. He trusts the talent on the team, and so then he gets stretches where he doesn't get it going, and those guys are primed up, and delivered, and brought their talent to the table. So I give him a lot of credit for how he played.
Second night in a row. The rim protection is just excellent. You talk about 8 blocks at the rim. Chet had 5 of them. And then Hartenstein also, the two of them combined, 21 rebounds. You guys out-rebound them. Just can you talk about that two big guy lineup that's just dominating right now?
Yeah, it's always had that. It's always had the rim protection. It's always had the rebounding because of the size. We've had to develop other parts of it, and they've done a great job of upscaling those other parts so that we net out positive when we put it on the court. Continues to be good. They went small a lot more tonight than they did in Game 1, and we were able to keep them on the court late, even against small lineups, because of their intelligence and their fluidity on the defensive end. So they've done a great job. We're going to keep needing to use it.
You mentioned how the offense in the third quarter wasn't really humming for you guys, and oftentimes when we see that, teams typically turn the ball over, but you guys only had 7 turnovers tonight. Just what you like about the way that you guys were able to protect the ball and not give them extra possessions when
Yeah, like
when
I
they had it
said,
going.
sorry, I thought you were done. Like I said in the third, we didn't make threes, and we didn't get to the line, and nothing was really easy. And so to like drum up 20 points in that circumstance is good grind by our team. And something we're going to need. You don't just stay in like a perpetual rhythm in the NBA playoffs. They're going to go in and out on offense, but it's like, can you manufacture enough offense with, ball protection, offensive rebounding, which we did tonight, and can you get enough stops to kind of stabilize the game enough so that it doesn't become a run in the other direction? And that's what I thought we did tonight in the second half.
Ja is one of the better guys in the paint. He got it going a little bit tonight, but most of his shots were really, really tough shots. So what have you liked about the way you guys have been able to send a crowd to him, particularly when he gets into the paint?
Yeah, I thought we did a good job on those guys again tonight, and they were just more of themselves, than they were in game one. I thought they had an outlier game in game one, the three of those guys, and tonight Jackson and him played better, but I still liked what we did. I thought our process was pretty good, but we got to understand they shot 2/3 of their shots, those two in Bain. And so when we go to Memphis, we got to expect those guys to be super aggressive. We got to expect their team to try to free those guys up, and we've got to be ready for that.
Mark, you win the first game by 51. It's easy to think, this thing's over, but they were second in the West for half the season. Do you feel your guys are understanding that and came with the right mentality?
For sure, and don't get it backwards. We were ready for them to play really well tonight. We knew that wasn't who they were on Sunday. There was a fatigue element to that, and we got the ball rolling down the hill in that game. So we knew that their approach would be different. We knew their confidence would be different. We knew they were all capable of playing better. They did. And now, down 2-0, they're going back home in front of their home crowd where they play well. The last time they played there, they played excellent. And so we've got to be ready for a similar type of punch in Game 3.
You mentioned there's other elements of that too big lineup you guys have had to develop. What are those?
A lot of it's just offensively how to work off of each other and understand spacing when one person's in one spot. Getting the floor spaced the right way, whether it's in the dunker or on the perimeter. A lot of it's defensive communication, not running to the paint when the ball gets driven, understanding, the help assignments. A lot of it's their communication with matchups. A lot of times we're cross-matched when teams go small like that and try to play fast. And then there's a collaboration they have, with their passing and with kind of the pick and roll game. So we've put a lot of time into it relative to the amount of time we've had, and it's those investments have paid off because it's something we have a lot of confidence in, obviously, to go to it as much as we have.
And how would you evaluate your defensive performance as a team so far this series, especially in terms of disruptiveness?
Really good. I thought, like I said, game one, I thought we were really good. It was an outlier game for them. That's definitely not who they are on that end of the floor. I thought tonight was a little bit more, they made some shots. They made some tough shots. Morant and Jackson specifically made some that you kind of had to live with the guys like that. But I like our process and I like our focus tonight, like I said, because in the third quarter, the wind was in our face offensively, and we still, we're stacking stops and focused on that end of the floor, and that's the sign of a mentally tough team. And I thought we had that tonight.
Yeah, Mark, 2 straight games, I thought Dubs played really well on games where Shai really wasn't shooting it good. Did you get a sense that he sort of realized Shai's just struggles and decided to be a little more aggressive or assertive?
Honestly, no. I think, it's the way we've played all year. That's what I was trying to say with Shai trusting his teammates' talent. We've played a team brand all year, and so it's not like if Shai's having a bad shooting night, everyone's playing differently. Everybody's playing the same, but we have good players that are confident and aggressive, whether or not one player's playing well or not. And so I thought Dub was in character tonight. I thought everyone was in character, and that's what a team is. So I thought we did a great job on a night where, like I said, offensively the wind was a little bit more in our face than it was in game one.
Michael Martin, let's talk Thunder. Mark, you talked a lot about communication between guys like Chet and Ihart, but what about the communication between you and Alex? Because it seems like there's some real things going on that's paying dividends, like going back to your time with the Blue, of just sort of almost telepathic thing between you two guys of understanding what's needed on the floor?
Yeah, my communication with Alex tonight cost us 2 points because I called him over on a free throw blockout, and he was late going back in, and Bang got the rebound from the spot that I called him from. So it's not often that a coach can give up 2 points, but I managed to do it tonight.
Anybody else? Thank you.
Yep, thanks.